Hi friends, Krista here. Thank you so much for stopping by Books and Jams. Today is Booklist Thursday. I don't do Booklist Thursday normally on my channel, but my friends Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library, they do Booklist Thursday every single week. And every once in a while they do a 5-star predictions round and they invite other people to join them for that project. A few months ago, they asked me if I would be willing to do a Netgalley version of 5-star predictions. Of course, I said yes, since one of my main goals for the year is to read more of my Netgalley and increase my score or percentage of books reviewed on there. And so why not choose 5 of my Netgalley books and see if they would be 5 stars? So I did pick 5 books. I have 3 of them here: The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. I have The Elephant's Girl by Celesta Remington. I have The Forest of Vanishing Stars by Kristen Harmel. I also chose The Woman with the Blue Star by Pam Jenoff and People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. How a 5-star predictions round works, I guess, is that you choose a few books that are on your TBR, on your shelves, and guess if you're going to give them 5 stars. Obviously, I tried to pick books that sounded like something I would really love. And so we're going to go through these 5 books today and see if I gave them 5 stars. You can also check over on Sarah's channel and Lizzie's channel to see how they did on their round of Netgalley 5-star predictions. It may or may not be a surprise that not all 5 of these books were 5 stars for me. I'm going to start with my lowest rated one and then move my way up. I did have 1 or more that made it to 5 stars. So first off, I'm going to start with my 3-star read, and that was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I was a little bit disappointed in this book overall. I thought it was a fun read. I think Emily Henry does a great job with dialogue and banter between the 2 characters. In this book, we follow Poppy and Alex. They have been best friends for a really long time, and every summer they take a vacation together, and they kind of go all over the world, and they're very different personalities. Poppy is kind of a free spirit, and Alex is a lot more type A, likes to know what's going on. Very different personalities. 2 years ago, something happened on their vacation and it put a wedge in their friendship and they did not speak at all for 2 years. So this whole book was trying to go, like, we got glimpses of the current day timeline and then we went back to all of the vacations kind of leading up to what happened 2 years ago. I felt like the payout wasn't that great when we finally did get to learn what happened. I was like, wait a minute, that's all? That put a 2-year silence into their friendship. I didn't understand the depth or lack of depth in that climax that was supposed to be the reason why they didn't speak. I felt like it got a little bit repetitive along the way, and ultimately it was an okay read. Again, I think Emily Henry does great with banter and dialogue between the 2 characters. I found it enjoyable to read while I was reading it. So there was things that I liked about it. It got 3 stars. I know some people either like People We Meet on Vacation or like Beach Read. I don't think a lot of people really like both of them. I think Beach Read was a bigger hit for me than this one was, but I did have high hopes when I went into it, hoping that it would be another hit like Beach Read was for me, but it just wasn't. So it got 3 stars, which is not bad. It's just not great either. Then we have my 4-star reads, and I have a couple of these that got 4 stars. First, I'll talk about the other one that I don't have in front of me. So The Woman with the Blue Star by Pam Jenoff. I gave this book 4 stars. It is a World War II historical fiction set in Poland, and it's an interesting topic because it's based on the true events of a family who are a number of Jewish refugees, ultimately, who hid in the sewers of a Polish city throughout the course of till the end of the war and survived by living in the sewers. So this takes that story of real events, and Pam Jenoff moves it to a different city, and we follow this family, 2 families who, when Polish Jews were being sent off to concentration camps, these 2 families, with the help of a Polish man, hid in the sewers, and they lived down there for a really long time. And I found it interesting to just imagine what that would have been like, and the dark and damp sewers. I do think the descriptions didn't make it as bad as I'm sure it probably was, but I did find that interesting. We follow Sadie, who is an 18-year-old girl who lives in the sewers with her mother. Right away, very early in the story, something happened to her father and he is not with them. So it's Sadie and her mother and then this other family. But one day in wandering the sewers, Sadie kind of makes eye contact with a Polish girl named Ella. Ella is just really wanting to play a part in the war. And when Ella and Sadie lock eyes in the sewer, Ella is determined to help Sadie and her mother. So Ella begins to get involved with a little bit of a resistance movement and just kind of helps Sadie in the ways that she can. I don't remember why I gave it 4 stars and not 5 stars. I did feel like this was a little bit slow at times. There wasn't as much intensity as I would have expected in a book like this. I did feel like the writing was great. Maybe not standout, but really good. There was a lot that I liked about this one as well. Again, I gave it 4 stars. I don't think that the romance was really necessary, but it added, I guess, a level of humanity. I did feel like the characters maybe have been a little bit underdeveloped, but I did appreciate the friendship between Sadie and Ella, and I appreciated learning about, after reading, I appreciated learning that it was built on that it was inspired by true events. I did not realize that going into it. I thought it was really, really good, but not excellent. It didn't spur me on to giving it 5 stars. Another one that I gave 4 stars to was The Elephant's Girl by Celeste Remington. This is a middle grade book about a young girl who gets caught up in a tornado and lands in the zoo. And an elephant protects her during the rest of the tornado. And she now has this connection with the elephant. There's a way that they're able to communicate with each other. I did not know that there was a slight paranormal aspect to this book. I think if I had read the description fully, I might have been forewarned about that. So there's a little bit of magical realism / paranormal in here that I wasn't prepared for. And maybe that's why I didn't give it 5 stars. Again, this is one that I really, really enjoyed, but it didn't blow me away. This girl lands in the zoo and ends up living with one of the zoo workers who runs the train. I forget his title now. But what's her name? Lexington. It's the Lexington Zoo, and they name her Lexington because they don't know anything about her. She's a toddler, 2 or 3 years old when she first lands at the zoo. So they do their best to try to find her family. But then her and another zoo kid whose family works at the zoo, they've been best friends for so long, and I really, really loved their friendship. Lex also has some fear about leaving the grounds of the zoo. She has this anxiety about going into town or just leaving zoo grounds, and I liked how that was approached and talked about. I liked the focus on belonging and looking for where it is that you belong in your family. And I liked the mystery that was in here and how it all came together and the things that we discover throughout the story. So I thought that this was lovely. I gave it 4 stars. It did not blow me away. It's not going to be one that I remember and think about for a long time, but it was very good. And I have 2 left. One is a 5-star, one is not. And if you just recently watched my November mid-month wrap-up, you will know that this was 4 stars, not 5 stars. I didn't give it stars, but I did talk a lot about this in my November mid-month wrap-up because I just recently read this one. It's the most fresh on my brain. This is the story of Belle DaCosta Green, who was J.P. Morgan's personal librarian, and she's a real woman. It's based on a true story. Belle was a fabulous woman, very bold and super smart, and really made a place for herself in this world of art dealers and estate sales. And she would travel for JP Morgan, and she knew his taste really well, and he really became dependent on her as she helped to grow his library. So it was just really interesting to learn about her life as a librarian. But also, we see her family life as well. And Belle is actually a Black woman, and her mother decides very early on that her and her children are going to pass as white. And so before Belle even gets this job as the librarian, they move away from their family and are living in a new city and passing as white. So not only is Belle fabulous for her smarts and her ability to not swindle, but manipulate things to get what she wants. And she's working with a ton of money and becomes very important to JP Morgan. But But also every single day she's walking on eggshells, afraid that someone is going to discover that she's not exactly who she says she is. So she's kind of putting on this front, this show, and hiding this huge aspect of her life. And so we get to see the reasoning behind that and what that struggle would have been like for her and why that was the case. I just found it to help me have empathy and compassion for Belle and for other men and women who chose to do the same thing. But it did not get 5 stars because a lot of this book is kind of introspective, maybe is the right word. It doesn't have a very compulsive plot. There's not a lot that goes on, and I'm a plot-driven reader, and so there were sections of this book that I was like, come on, can something please happen? So while I did find it very interesting, I also wasn't very interested. There was a few parts that were on the boring side, which is sad to say, but it definitely is worth the read, I think. And also there's a relationship in here that is talked about for quite a while that is extramarital, and that is also something that I don't love. So that is another reason why this did not get 5 stars for me. I just want to say that because I know there are some of you out there as well who also don't like to read about affairs, and there is an affair in here that I will just warn you about. So 4 stars, not 5 stars. But that leaves me with The Forest of Vanishing Stars by Kristen Harmel. This was a 5-star read. Finally, I didn't do so hot this time. I think 3 4 stars, though, is pretty good. Anyways, The Forest of Vanishing Stars is another World War II historical fiction that I just was captivated from the beginning. In this book, we follow Yona, who, when she was very young, was kidnapped from her German family and brought out to the woods by this old woman, and I don't remember the old woman's name. It doesn't matter. She was brought out to the woods to live with this old woman and taught to survive in the woods. For years and years and years, she lives isolated with this older woman. She grows up surviving in the woods. She always tried to find out why this was her life and what was going on. And she tried to find out more information from this woman who was pretty harsh with her, never really learning the answers to some of her questions. But because she had learned to survive in the woods when World War II happened and some Jewish refugees from ghettos in different Polish villages and cities escaped to the woods to try to survive there, she comes in contact with them and is able to help them and teach them how to fish and trap animals and build a shelter that can help you survive the winter. And I was just so captivated by this survival story. Ultimately, the majority of the book is them surviving in the woods. I was captivated by Yona's story herself and the relationship she has with a few of these different Jewish refugees. I thought it was beautifully written. I was just, enthralled from the beginning to the end. And I did a deep dive into the Black Forest afterwards and looked up pictures of the forest where they lived and learned that there was a group of, I want to say hundreds, possibly even 1,000 or more Jewish refugees who lived in the woods and survived throughout the rest of the war because they hid in the woods. And I think they made a movie about that, which is not this story, but that group does come in contact with the group in this book as well. So I thought it was great. There was a little bit of a love story. There was a little bit of betrayal. There was a little bit of historical aspect of things, of sneaking into villages to get supplies, animals, and just the rest of surviving in the woods and all that entails. It just was really good. I really loved it. So I did give this one 5 stars, and Kristen Harmel is a fabulous author, and she is moving up onto my favorites list because I have loved 2 books by her this year already. So yeah, definitely am glad that I read that one and that I gave it 5 stars. So that is my, here's my 3 that I own, and the other 2 I don't have, but I'm so thankful that I read 5 more off of my Netgalley list. I have a lot more to go, but thank you so much to Sarah and Lindsay for inviting me to join you in this round of 5-star predictions. Don't forget to go over to their channels and check out what they thought of their books. And I will probably be doing another 5-star predictions soon. I have a tendency to take a really long time to follow up, but doing it with other people helped me to read them a lot quicker. So hopefully I can stick with that plan and do them quicker. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these, what you thought about them. And that is it for me today. I really appreciate you watching, and I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.